Welcome everybody to the March edition of the Johnston County Planning Board. We appreciate you being here this evening. As is our custom, we will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Mr. Little to lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The second item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the February 21st Planning Board meeting.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Have a motion to approve by Mr. Hudson, a second by Mr. Little. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, third on our agenda are subdivisions. I'll remind everyone that the vast majority of land in Johnston County is zoned agriculture residential, which means you can farm it or you can build houses on it. As such, it's not the purview of this board to determine if a subdivision is appropriate for a particular location, only if it meets the codes and ordinances of the county. So if you have any testimony as it relates to a subdivision, we ask that you please make sure that that testimony is competent and relevant. And anyone that would like to speak as it relates to a subdivision, I'm going to ask you now to stand and raise your right hand. Be sworn in. You affirm the information you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this is your solemn affirmation.
I do.
All right. We will begin with Investments, Inc. Mr. Marr.
Yes, sir. Investments, Inc. Owner and developer is Investments, Inc. Surveyor is Halsey Gilbert. This is at 3583 Browns Pond Road near Paceville Road in the Selma Township. It's served by Shoe Hill Fire District and Thanksgiving Rescue. It's 4.63 acres, 3 lots proposed, Johnston County Public Water, individual septic. Traffic count for this road was 1,500 vehicles per day. The last count was reported in 2018. This portion of Browns Pond Road does not appear on the Comprehensive Transportation Plan as needing improvement. Per NCDOT, lots 2 and 3 must share a driveway, and all other lots must be served off of the existing easement. In regards to direct driveway access on Browns Pond Road, major subdivisions to be located on a road shall be so designed that there shall be no more than one direct residential driveway connection per 500 feet along the same side of the local road unless it can be demonstrated that the proposed subdivisions cannot be physically designed, that no reasonable alternative exists, or it would create an unreasonable hardship without a corresponding public benefit to prohibit individual driveway access onto a local road. Also from the Johnston County Land Design Manual, when developments creating 4 or more lots where no easement exists and where the parent tracts have direct road frontage and easement shall not be allowed, the development must dedicate a right-of-way meeting the requirements of this section. A waiver may be allowed if determined by the planning board that in the pursuit of this section a hardship is created upon the property that provides no benefit to the safety, welfare, and quality of life to the public.
Thanks, sir. Any questions of staff?
Has this been before us previously?
Not to my knowledge.
Thanks, sir. We'd like to be heard on behalf of Investments, Inc. Give us your name. And
But I'll get up.
good to see you again, by the way.
Good seeing you and everybody. My name's Halsey Gilbert, 442.5 East Main Street, Clayton, North Carolina. Trying to do larger tracts. The only reason why Lot 1's already existing, that the second lot fronts the road is, if you notice, there's a ditch along that property line between this lot and the one that's going to front the easement. There's a huge ditch, and I made a point to make sure I located the RCP under the road. There's a lot of water comes through there, and there's already going a driveway on Lot 1 that's already on record onto the road, so I can do a shared driveway there and make both of them use the same if it pleases the board. But to cross that ditch right there will be a substantial pipe, and I'm sure DOT don't want me putting another pipe 20 foot down from theirs. Just made logical sense. That's why I'm here before the board does, asking permission.
That was good. Any questions? Thanks, sir. Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to Investments, Inc.? All right, bring it back to staff.
Staff recommendations denial due to the direct driveway access onto Browns Pond Road and less than 500 feet of driveway separation.
All right, entertain a motion.
I have a question,
Yes, ma'am.
and I maybe should have asked Ozzy while he was standing up here. But does this even show how they're going to share a driveway to get to lot 3?
Can you put the map back up?
I may be missing something.
Yes, ma'am, it'll be along the easement right in front of it, the access and utilities easement that already goes to the 10-acre tract in the back where the existing house is.
But where will it be coming off of there, going across lot 4 to get to lot 3?
That's just it. That's what I was talking about. It's the ditch that comes off this big pipe under the road.
Uh-huh.
I was going to lot 1, I'm gonna have to put a driveway here already. On lot number 2, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we were mixed up on the numbers there.
I apologize. Get up here, I can see it's lot 2. On lot 2, I'm already gonna have to put a driveway there to serve it. And I'll just make it a shared driveway to 2 and 3. That kind of eliminates this additional driveway.
Right. See, lots 2 and 3 are gonna be served with a shared driveway on Browns Pond. Lot 4 and 5 is off the easement.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
I didn't have my glasses on.
No worries. Any other questions, Ozzy, while we got him up here?
Oh, has that lot 2 got an existing driveway now?
No, it'll have to
Okay.
be put in. That's why I said it'd be
got you.
no problem to put a shared driveway if I need to. And I can back it to the left if I need to get the distance as far apart.
Right.
Do you think if you put a driveway in off the easement that's going back to that house, and that connects over to lot 4 and of course 5 because it's already going through it. But then if you took and put a driveway, a shared driveway between existing lot 2 and 3, is that gonna be 500 feet or is it 300 feet that we require?
It's 500, but the requirement is a requirement. That's why I'm asking that planning board.
But it will be just a little bit closer.
It will be closer to 500, yes, ma'am. And if I go back to the opposite side of lot 2, I'm gonna be closer than 500 from the,
The pace,
yes, ma'am, the existing road that already goes in. So I'm kinda stuck with a piece of area right there that's got a ditch there and,
The ditch is creating a hardship, basically.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure they don't want me throwing another pipe in.
You're trying to make the best of what you have to work with.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, a motion to approve by Mr. Little, second by Mr. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Bennett Cherry Farm Place.
Okay, Bennett, owner is Bennett Cherry Farm Place, developers also Bennett Cherry Farm Place, surveyors Merle Hall. Location is Hickory Crossroads Road, just north of Rains Mill Road in the Boone Hill Township. It's served by Boone Hill Fire District and Princeton Rescue. It's 4.91 acres, 6 lots proposed, Johnston County Public Water, individual septic. Traffic counts 900 vehicles per day, and that was in 2019. Does not appear on the comprehensive transportation plan as needing improvement. Per NCDOT, shared driveways are required for lots 1 and 2, and also lots 5 and 6, and any future development of parcels must be served internally. You'll see the note in there about direct driveway access onto Hickory Crossroads Road. It's the same as the previous case you just heard, and also the land design manual statement on your staff report.
All right, Any questions of staff? Thank you, sir. Who'd like to be heard on behalf of Bennett Cherry Farm Place?
Merle Hall Land Surveying, 1899 Stevens Chapel Road, Smithfield, North Carolina, 27577. This is going to be a little bit unusual circumstance from what you guys see for a roadfront subdivision. My clients, Joy Woodard and Mark Holland, are here tonight. If you guys have any questions after I get through. Their dad started an LLC a long time ago, Rains Mill Road LLC, and put property into it. When he passed, Joy and Mark were part of the LLC, so they inherited that land. They also inherited land outside of the LLC, so they own property jointly from their family, and they own properties separately from their family. The last several years, they've been trying to dissolve Rains Mill Road LLC and split all of the property equitably between them. Their desire is to get this done so their children will not have to go through the process of doing this, because once it gets out of their control, they're no longer here. It just makes it more complicated for the kids and grandkids to deal with it. They've accomplished getting all their property divided out, with the exception of these roadfront lots right here. And if they can do this, everything will be equal between them. They can dissolve the LLC and go about their business. One thing with this lot right here is, if you don't mind showing the aerial again for me, please. All the property in the back here in the trees, you notice there's a wet area here. You cannot develop any of this property other than this roadfront strip. It is wet, bad soils. This property is being looked at. Everything that you see that's wooded back there is being looked at for wetland mitigation and wetland set aside. You know, probably 7, 8 years ago, they contacted me about what we could do with this as far as roadfront lots, and I explained to them, you can do 3 at a time, and you have to wait 3 years, do 3 more, so forth and so on. They said, okay, well, let's start that process. So we got health department to look at it, and we came up with a total of 9 roadfront lots. We've actually have split out 3 of the 9 over the course of that 6 or 7 years or so. I think our first lot was recorded in 2017, and then we did 2 in 2020. You know, so there's no development of this property other than the roadfront. You know, basically, it's a situation of the time it takes to do a minor, and all. You know, you can only do 3 at a time. You have to wait 5 years. When you're 30 or 40 years old, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. When you're in the 60 to 70 year range, well, that 10 years or so to do these lots kind of gets shorter. And if you're trying to take care of things for your kids so they don't have to deal with, and close out some business so everybody is separated out from each other, they get along wonderful. I've surveyed for a lot of siblings, and it's a pleasure to work for these guys because there's no argument between them. They get along great with what's going on, and they just want to keep it that way for their kids when the time comes. And like I said, they've spent the last few years doing this. They put a lot of time and effort into it, getting things worked out. And so basically that's the biggest reason that we're trying to get these 6 roadfront lots, is so one sibling will get 3 lots, the other one will get 3 lots. They can close out this LLC and be done with it. And like I said, there is no development of the back property. These roadfronts are it. And once these are done, this property will be done, and at some point in time, somebody may take the back for wetlands mitigation or remediation. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you guys may have.
So the remainder of the land is going to continue to be held by the current owners. I'm assuming this gap here in the plan, is that just to provide access to the remainder of that land?
That will be left to the back part. It will be the roadfront connection to the remainder back there.
Okay.
So we're doing shared driveways on lots 1 and 2 and 5 and 6?
We'd love to not have to do shared driveways, but we will if we can get this approved. They will not have a problem with that if we can get these 6 lots approved.
Are there any existing driveways going on in this other pieces of property that are not in part of this?
There are driveways up and down Range Crossroads Road in this area, individual driveways. In fact, across the street, there are some lots that have 2 driveways per lot.
Any other questions of the gentleman?
So these existing lots that are already in here, they all have single existing driveways now?
That is correct.
Across the street.
On both sides. of the
No,
road,
on
yes.
on this property I'm
Yes.
talking about.
They have single existing driveways.
And so parcel 4 and 8 will have a single driveway is what you're
That is-
proposing?
That is correct.
Well, he just said he'd prefer all the lots
Yeah.
to have single driveways.
That'd be hard to do on 1 and 2 and 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, also, just in reference to that, DOT did state that if they shared 1 and 2 and 5 and 6, they would sign the driveway permit.
Yeah, I see that's in your conditions if we do decide to approve. Any other questions of the gentleman? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to Bennett Sherry Farm Place? All right, bring it back to staff.
Staff recommendation was denial due to the direct driveway access onto Hickory Crossroads Road and the less than 500 feet of driveway separation.
I will say, I know what our intent is trying to keep these driveways apart, but I do also believe that 900 cars a day is a low ADT, so I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, motion for approval by Mr. Little, second by Ms. Howard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is approved. Next, we will move on to the rezoning portion of tonight's agenda. I'll note that we serve as an advisory board to the Board of County Commissioners. So if you're here as it relates to a rezoning case, regardless of the outcome of our votes this evening, it will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners at their
May 1st.
May meeting, which will be the first day of May. Thank you.
I was ready.
I knew I was going to need that help. So again, we are not required to be sworn in for rezonings, but I will ask that if you have, if you're going to speak on rezoning, you would give us your name and address, please. And I would also ask that if you do have any comments that are a repeat of something someone has previously said, please, you can just indicate that you share the same concerns. We don't need to hear the same information multiple times, but if you do have something different to offer, we absolutely want to give you your time and hear that. So with that, we'll start with case 2309.
Okay, this is a petition to rezone 4.61 acres located in the 11,000 block of Cleveland Road in the Cleveland Township from office instructional to general business. Owner is Linwood and Diane Jones, applicant's Linwood Jones. It's served by the Macklemore Fire District and CNS Rescue Squad. It's zoned right now office institutional, and currently vacant land. Surrounding land use is zoned AR and used for agriculture and residential purposes, zoned general business and currently vacant, zone GB and currently being used as a dance studio, storage facility, auto repair, realty office, etc. Traffic concerns. Traffic count on Cleveland Road was 12,000 vehicles per day. That was in 2020. It does appear on the comprehensive transportation plan as an existing boulevard needing improvement. It is located within a primary growth area on the comprehensive land use plan, which denotes high levels of growth pressures currently or anticipated near term. It is also in a neighborhood center activity node, and there were 21 notices sent out to adjacent property owners.
All right, any questions of staff? Thank you, sir. Who would like to be heard on behalf of case 23-09? Yes, sir.
Thank y'all. I'm Leonard Jones, and my wife is seated right behind me. And the report that I read here basically says everything, and I agree with it. It's proper for this area because of the growth of that side of Johnston County. And I'm 75 years old, probably out of the development business, and so I got a piece of land I want to sell. And to keep in accordance with what's in that area, general business is the zone I would ask for. And I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the gentleman?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to case 23-09? All right, bring it back to staff.
Staff recommendations approval based on the consistency statement in the staff report.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Little, second by Mr. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that will go forward to the Board of County Commissioners as a recommendation for approval. Case 20-29.
All right, this is a request to modify previous special use case that was approved in December of 2020. If you notice in your maps, I have the current, what their site plan is going to look like, and also at the top of the one that's with it, it says approved in 2020. So basically, it was for a convenience store that was approved, and now they just want to open it to general retail. And I think a Dollar General is what it says on the site plan. There's a petition to modify 1.57 acres of 5.45 acre tract located at 2337 Thanksgiving Fire Road in the Wilders Township that's currently zoned General Business Special Use District. Its owner is Thanksgiving 42 LLC, applicants Glandon Forest Equity LLC. Modification request is to add general retail as an approved use to the existing special use permit. Served by Northside Fire District Thanksgiving Rescue. Its existing land use is zoned general business special use and is approved for convenience store, mini storage, and outdoor storage. Surrounding land use is zoned AR and used for agricultural and residential purposes, also a fire department and a church. Other surrounding uses are zoned general business, but they're vacant at this time. Traffic count for Highway 42 is 8,600 vehicles per day, and that was in 2021. Thanksgiving Fire Road is 1,100 vehicles per day, and that's 2016. 42 is identified as a boulevard needing improvement, and Thanksgiving Fire Road appears as a thoroughfare with adequate design capacity. This area is located within a secondary growth area on the county's comprehensive land use plan as it stands today. This denotes areas in which low to moderate levels of growth pressures are anticipated over the next 20 years. It's also in a neighborhood center commercial activity node. There were 7 notices sent out.
All right, any questions of staff? Thank you, sir. Who'd like to be heard on behalf of case 20-29? Sir.
Hey, I'm Brent Purdom. I'm with Bowman, where the engineers is 4006 Barrett Drive, Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm just basically here on behalf of Glandon Forest to answer any questions that you may have. Really, everything he said was perfect.
Any questions of the gentleman?
Have you or have not submitted for a driveway permit yet?
We have not submitted for driveway. We've been, we're being required to have a shared driveway, which I think is a storage facility just to the north of us. And DOT has told us, where we needed that driveway to be, so we've been working with their engineer to get it in the right spot.
Is this dashed line that I have on the, I guess this is the Dollar General drawing?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Is that dash line that you have out there adjacent to 42, is that possibly retention, future retention basin or any?
We do have a stormwater pond out there, yes, sir.
Oh, there's one out there now?
No, we're proposing one.
And the reason I ask you that question, I know there's a high incident rate there at that intersection. That's been a topic of conversation, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a planned project to go at that intersection, so safety project. Which when you deal with DOT, I'm sure that'll.
Right.
that'll come up.
We talked to Sam Lawhorn about it a
Yeah.
little bit. He hasn't brought up any road improvements yet, but we haven't gotten a full submittal in.
It just recently made a four-way stop.
Yep. I think long-term, it's looking at something.
I'm sure they'll push 42 out there eventually too.
Oh, yeah.
That's understood. Any other questions of the gentleman?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to case 20-29?
Staff recommendations for approval of the modification. We did add in the conditions that, the note that DOT said about having to share the existing driveway.
Number 10. I'll make a motion to approve based on the special use conditions and the change to number 10 about the change of the driveway shared internally.
Second.
Motion approved by Mr. Hudson, second by Mr. Little. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, I'll go through the Board of County Commissioners as a recommendation for approval. Case 2310.
Okay, this is a petition to rezone 25.39 acres located at 383 Overman Lane in the Boone Hill Township, agriculture residential to general business conditional zoning. Owner and applicants Jose Baldovinos. His conditional zoning requests outdoor recreational, rodeo settings, weddings, birthdays, charitable events, truck, horse rodeos, concerts, vendors. Its utilities and services are Boone Hill Fire District and Princeton Rescue Squad. It's zoned AR and used for agricultural purposes, and events are being held at that location. Side note, we have not received a complaint in the planning office about it. This was, so they are holding those events at this time. Surrounding land use is zoned AR and used for agriculture and residential purposes. Zoned I-2 conditional zoning and used as a sand/gravel mine. Traffic count for this portion of Overman Lane is not available, and it does not appear on a comprehensive transportation plan as needing improvement. It is located in a primary growth area on the county's comprehensive land use map, which denotes high areas of growth pressures already existing or anticipated near term. Notices were sent to the 4 adjacent property owners. I will tell the board that in the last couple of days since we have sent out the notices and word has gotten around, and the sign has been posted, that we have received several phone calls reference to noise complaints from the past. But as I said earlier, we haven't received anything about illegal businesses or anything like that in the past.
Okay. So this did not come in as a complaint. This came in by the applicant, the owner.
That's correct. It was mentioned that it had been in use for several years and used for this, and thinking it may have been a legal non-conforming use. We did look through ortho photos, and it has expanded exponentially since maybe 2013, or at least where the ortho photos show. It does not look like it was around in the early 2000s, so it would not be a legal non-conforming use.
Okay. Do you mind, I know we typically will talk about these at the end, but do you mind going over briefly the conditions that are proposed by the applicant and staff as it relates to
Sure.
this?
The applicant If you look at the, he can put them up on the board if he can. Anything in the conditions that at the end of them say proposed by applicant, that's some of the ones that they proposed. The other ones were added by staff, basically as ones we've used in the past on any special event venues that we've had, just basically pulled as requirements out of the land development code and what would be required. It is something that the applicant would have to agree to, all of these.
Any other questions of staff?
On the time frame from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., does that mean all activity has to cease at 11 p.m.?
That is their, that's what they are proposing applications, so, yes, if it's in the conditions set forth and they agree to them, then the activity would have to be done by 11.
So Overman Lane is private, that's a private road, it's not a state maintained road.
It is not. That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Who'd like to be heard on behalf of case 23-10?
My name is George Mast, and I appear on behalf of the property owner, who is Jose Baldonovas, and his father is here with him. This property that we want your action on with respect to the general business conditional zoning is about $700 feet from Hickory Crossroads. And the description, which is in the application, relates to outdoor recreational rodeo set-ins, weddings, birthdays, charitable events, truck events, horses, rodeos, concerts. They have only requested for from Friday till Sunday. Basically, any event they have would be on a Saturday, but sometimes the horses, and these are special horses that dance and perform. They have to bring those in earlier on their horse trailers. The dealing with trucks, there's not a truck pull or anything like that. This is where they bring the trucks in and park them, and you look at them and they give them trophies for those. They only do this very infrequently. Generally, they do those types of shows a couple times a year. And the reason they are asking this change is they want to make sure that they're complying with the laws of Johnston County and the zoning, and we think this is appropriate. They sometimes do have weddings there, and they have the Hispanic community. When girls reach 15, they have a special ceremony. They have some of those there. It's with respect to the people who are complaining about noise, we think that is in a reasonable way. They shut down before 11 o'clock. If somebody complains about noise, they shut the noise down. It would only be music. I have Richie Hines here who can answer questions to you about the actual design. It's a fairly large piece of property, and he's done the planning for it. And at this point, I would let you come up, Richie, and make your observation.
Good evening. I'm Richie Hines at 630 Aiken Parkway, Fuquay Varina. Like Mr. Mass said, I've done the conceptual layout and site plan there. It conveys a general idea of what the applicant is seeking. Of course, one of the conditions of the approval is that a more detailed site plan will be provided, and of course, we'll comply with that. Had conversations with DOT. They will not require any kind of roadway improvements on Hickory Crossroads Road, given the sporadic nature, I guess, of the events that will be held. They do request that the driveway be paved. The portion that's in the right-of-way will need to be paved, and I would propose that it be upgraded to something of more sufficient width and radius to allow some of the trucks and trailers to get in and out more safely and more easily. We anticipate there'll probably be some stormwater management devices on the site. Could possibly utilize the existing pond. May have to do some other measures, but again, that'll be determined as we proceed with the more detailed site design process if it's approved. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Richie, just a couple of things. Do you know what the distance is from Hickory Crossroads Road to the first one that's labeled like the ticket booth, I guess?
Tim, I can tell you there's a gate. I don't know that it's shown, but the gate is probably a good 750
Okay.
feet, and I think that ticket booth is even beyond that
Right,
some.
okay.
So
And then two other things. One was that gravel road, what's the width of that?
it is probably, and you may know better than I do. Can you pass two cars on it, or just a single car on the? You can pass two.
Okay.
Probably 16, 18
18.
feet. Yeah, about
Okay.
that.
And the last one I got,
It's paved.
it is paved.
Yes, there's no gravel anymore.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's
good.
the change then. All right.
So, without me having to count all these, how many parking spots are you?
It's about 299 is
Okay.
what's shown right now. I think plus an additional 8 handicap.
That's what's on the plans?
Yes, sir.
And is that, are you gonna make any improvements to that? It looks like it's a field now. Is that gonna be paved or gravel or just kind of a field? What's the plans there?
Well, again, as infrequently as it's used, I think he'd prefer to just have it as a field. I certainly think he an all-weather surface would be much more minimal than pavement, because they do not plan to use it, every weekend. But the owner's here as well, and they can speak to it.
So, it looks like a large part of this track is, the parking is being added. Are some more of these trees gonna come out, once that parking goes in for horse pasture or anything else?
I do not think any of the horse pasture or the corral will be coming out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what that fenced area was being used for right now.
Yeah, that would have to be shifted. I don't think you'll have to remove any existing vegetation to put the parking area in.
It looks like, looking at the aerial view, that the parking spaces are in the cleared area because it abuts up to the pond. And the
Yeah, it
only
was-
trees are along that right-hand edge, am I correct? That's what I'm asking. And going around the pond.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that's a better picture than I got.
Yeah. What I was wondering, since all the parking's being expanded, to still have corral area on the property, are they gonna have to remove some of the trees?
I do not think so. I do not think so.
Is this whole area now being used as parking just without it? I mean, is this the same area that it's on the map, the same size?
I would defer to the owner on that, as far as he can give you the details on just how much of that is used during his events. I know there are places right now on site they can park. They're probably not designated as parking spaces, but when they have their events, there are places where folks do park. I imagine the field is used to some extent. Like Mr. Mass said, they do have it for quinceañeras and weddings and horse shows. They have the dancing horses where they'll come and dance for a few seconds, and
I noticed, he made some submittals of pictures of the property. Seems there's an entrance gate at the end of Overland.
That's right. I think that's up.
Is that wide
it's proper.
enough for fire truck emergency services to get in there?
That's something we'll definitely have to look into.
Okay.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell by the picture really how wide it was.
right. Yeah, I think it'll have to be looked into.
Concerts, are they being held outside or are they being held inside? I noticed there was a lot of barns that are buildings on the property now.
Yeah, a lot of those
Most of
barns
those-
are for the horses, to my understanding, and I'm not sure if they're, as far as concerts, I think it's just more music. And any concert might be on a smaller stage. I don't think we're rivaling, what I used to call Walnut Creek. You know, I don't think we're gonna rival that.
But they do mention concerts in
Yeah.
the land.
Yeah, so it would be some live music, I would imagine, yeah.
How much more traffic, if this gets approved, are you expecting to have than what it's currently being used for?
Well, with roughly 300 spaces, if they fill it up, you know, that's 300 vehicles. I imagine you'd have 300 trips in, 300 out. I don't think there'd be a whole lot of, you know, coming and going, so to speak. I think once you're on site, then probably stay on site.
Where do the trucks with the horses and all of the trailers and stuff park?
It's
Part of this same parking area?
yes, the same parking area, and also where the existing horse stalls also are. There, like I said, there is some room for them to have some trucks and some horse trailers, and that's where they'll unload them.
I noticed in some of the comments, there was a statement of concerts, weddings and stuff, and truck rodeos. I'm an old man, explain truck rodeo to me. I think Mr. Matt said that there was no tractor pulls or anything.
Right. I must be an old man too, because I had to ask as well. It's basically like a classic car show where folks would come and they
Car
park their
show.
vehicles and everybody observes it. It's the same thing. It's just geared
It's
for
not
trucks.
trucks running around
No,
barrels.
sir. It's not any kind of movement with the trucks other than getting them parked and just having folks come
That gets
inspect them.
loud.
Right. No, sir.
So if a concert or rodeo lasts till 11 o'clock, how long does it take to move 300 vehicles out of the parking lot down the road?
Can you speak to that in the past?
If he's gonna speak to that, we're gonna need to
Yeah,
get him.
that's fine.
Get him to come up.
If there are no more technical questions, I'll be glad to defer the rest of my time to that. Okay. Thanks.
Tony, will you come up? This is Tony. Tony, will you come up and answer questions for us?
Yeah, if you'll give us your name and address, please.
And name and address.
Yeah. My name is Tony Larios, and I'm living in 175 Galilee Road in Smithfield, North Carolina. So what was your question, sir?
How long does it take to move 300 vehicles and all the associated trucks and trailers off of the property if you have something that lasts till 11 o'clock?
Probably 30 minutes.
Okay.
Tell me about the frequency of events. How often do you have an event? Is it every weekend? Is it once a
No,
month?
sir.
How's
Not
that?
right now. We only do twice a year, and we do small like quinceañeras, the people that we know. So let's say we do the two big shows, horses and truck shows, twice a year, and the quinceañeras maybe 3 or 4 times a year. The people that we know. Again, there's no what I do for a living, and I don't want to do this for a living. It's just for some reason I get to the horses business, dancing horses, and I don't know. I just love seeing my horses and people come in and enjoy the time. And I know the thing is, when we do the first one and the second one, the neighbors call the law, the police, and they come up there. And when they start happening, people worry about it, or people do thinking that we do something wrong. I don't want that. So I ask here if I can get a permit. They said, no, you cannot get permit if you don't do commercial land. That's my point. So if we do commercial, then I can come ask for a permit, and I can hire a couple police officers, and everything legally or whatever.
Sure.
But
So you mentioned 4 shows twice a year, car show, truck show twice a year, so that's 4. You got a few birthdays
yeah,
in
the
there, so-
quinceañera, yes, yes, and
And do you expect that you will maintain that same level of events, or you expect you'll have more or less, or after this?
well, I don't want to have more. I just want to have my 6 or 7 or 8 a year and be good with everybody and be straight and legally and everything.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Very good, thank you. Other questions, gentlemen? Hang on just a second.
So you don't see it expanding into something every single weekend?
No, sir. I'm not. I've never tried to do that, and I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that.
Does anyone, does somebody, I assume because there's pictures of horses and really nice stables, does someone live there on the property?
Yes. Well, no, in that property. And then it's another next to the property is a single white trailer.
Uh-huh.
And he stay there to watch my horses, yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's just no part of that.
Right,
This
okay.
is not, yeah.
Tell them how many horses you have.
About 35.
35?
horses, yes.
Tell them what they do.
They dance in the, I mean, that's just, I love it. I like, that's me. And I know my noise is loud, yes. And I know my neighbors, you know, I don't know how to say, I can say it, but I don't know, I just, hopefully we can make it happen.
Well, I just calculated 300 cars leaving every 15 seconds would be 75 minutes. It's an hour and a quarter. And if they don't leave starting at 11, that gets on into midnight, 1 o'clock with,
So, I guess when I say 30 minutes, see, and there's another thing, I don't do that for a living, so I don't really have, I just speak 30 minutes.
well, how
may
long
be
do
right.
people typically hang out after the
No, they don't
after the
hang out.
event? They
don't
immediately
hang
get
out.
in their car and leave? They hang
As
out?
soon as the event is, because see, we have a lights and we turn the lights off complete. And that means everybody had to go.
And I would assume a lot of people don't stay to the end or get there at the beginning. They kind of come and go.
Yes. Let's say this. When you do truck and horses, whoever come and see the trucks stops around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So everybody comes see trucks. They left early. They gone. So the only people you keep is whoever want to stay, and then for the singer. You know, so basically from 300 people, by 6 p.m., 7 p.m., you only have, I mean, for 300 cars, by 6, 7 p.m., you only have 100 cars or 50 cars because everybody's gone by the time. And when we said 11, it's up there. I don't want to stay till like, you know, it can be to 9 o'clock or to 10 o'clock, but something happened. That's why we put to 11. And Friday to Sunday, Friday we let people come in and leave the trucks there or the horses because that's easy. But everybody left early, around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. You don't see no more people because we know that Saturday is a long day. So basically Saturday is the main day. Sunday, you see it Sundays, but it's only because somebody left the car there or whatever. They can come back and get the car and go. But, you know, basically Sunday you only see 1 or 2 persons that come back and get the horse or the car or the truck. Stuff like that.
Other questions of the gentleman? Thanks, sir. Anyone else like to be heard?
Unless you all want to ask me any questions, we don't have anybody
Any other questions of the applicant? Hang on, hold on, I got you. Hang on, I can tell you. Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else like to be heard as it relates to case 23-10? I saw him first, then we'll go back to the back, and we'll work our way around. I will remind you, if you've heard something said, you don't necessarily have to repeat it. You can just say you agree with it, and that'll be fine.
Okay.
Give us your name and address, please.
My name's Charles Bryant. I live at 7320 Hickory Crossroads Road in Princeton.
Yes, sir.
First, I just got a question for you.
You can ask me, and I'll get answers to your questions.
Okay. Is any alcohol served at these venues?
All right, I'll make sure we get an answer to that one.
And as far as the noise, like I say, I might live 200 yards away from the venue, and we have noise from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. And I just want to share a story personally with me. This was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. The police come, the ambulance comes, somebody must have got hurt out there. And they made everybody leave. And traffic was backed up from the end of the road, or the beginning of the road, Rains Mill Road, all the way to our driveway. And one of the individuals pulled in my neighbor's driveway and urinated in his yard. So that's why I'm asking if any alcohol's being served.
Okay.
As far as the loud music, it's loud from all day to all night. And there's a lot of people around there, and a lot of older people, and I just don't see that it's a good place for them.
What days in your experiences have the events taken place?
Saturday.
Saturday. So it's,
I mean, it's constant from first thing in the morning till dark 30 at night. There's constantly movement in and out. Trucks, throwing beer cans in my yard, all kinds of stuff. But I'm sure these people got something to say, but as far as my experience with it, it's been terrible. I mean, every Saturday I have to listen to that stuff whenever they had their venues. But and I know me, my wife, we've called the police out there. There's several people that have been very intoxicated.
what did you say your address was?
7320 Hickory Crossroads Road.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to see where your house is in relation to it. Okay.
Oh, it's not too far, I promise you.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
But somebody else got to say something.
Okay.
You're right.
Any other questions? Yes.
As far as the number of times that was mentioned that these events occur, is that pretty accurate? Is that a low number?
I can think of maybe 4 or 5 times that I've heard it personally.
Okay.
And it's just been within the last couple of years, it's grown bigger and bigger. And as far as traffic leaving the place, there's more than 300 cars at that property. I'm sorry to say, but they stroll in from, hours at a time, and it's backed up way back. As far as from the driveway where they're started all the way to the end of the road. So.
And what time does that traffic subside?
Sometimes 11, 11:30, 12. You stop counting after a while. You get used to it, but I don't want to get used to that. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Y'all got any more questions for me?
No questions. Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Yes, sir.
you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw yes man back in the corner or something. Whoever wants to go next, come on.
My name's Ford Hallman. I stay at 7256 Hickory Crossroad, which is probably about 300 feet from the property he owns. At the end of that drive, if they put an actual road map up, I talked to the young lady, which stays right at the end of the road there across the road. I have seen them come out of his driveway, spinning the wheels, and slide off in her ditch over there. I have seen them when the law was down at the end of the road down there, because when I'm going to it, run off in the ditch on a Dodge Charger, come out and shoot straight up in her driveway and sit there to the law left. So now I don't know if strings are going on or not, but I'm pretty sure it is. But talking about that is the right of way he's got is about 30 foot into the property. If they bring the map back up, the actual map, if you'll see right there where there's a double wide at, come out to the end dot right there. From right there all the way out to the next lot which I can just about tell you what it is, what parcel it is there's a covered, and it ain't but about 30 foot wide. The man that bought the property before he got it, the one he bought it from, we're gonna get it turned into a subdivision. Because the people that own the land on each side of that cover would not sell him the property, he couldn't turn it into a subdivision. So the road's about 30 foot wide. I used to stay at the White House right there where that peak is, right there next to the road, which is 7156, 70, I don't want to tell you wrong, 7148 Hickory Crossroads. There's drinking going on in there, and the first one he had, which was supposed to have been a fundraiser. Now, ambulance said him crossed in front of my yard 2 hours, right close to 2 hours, waiting to get in there for the sheriff's department to get over there and get the cars cleaned out. And once they started out about 9 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, they were still coming out. Because somebody got hurt in there doing the rodeo. Now, I don't think this is a good place for it. I mean, I know he loves his horses. I love a horse. I don't own a horse, but I love a horse. I don't think having concerts and rodeos in there, because concerts and talking about the road being suitable to handle this traffic, it is not. Each lane's only about 8 foot wide. You already put a bunch of subdivision in there on top of us, on further down in there. And I'm talking about big subdivision. I ain't talking about 1 or 2 lots. 1 or 2 lots I have no problem with. But you got subdivisions all down in there, and we have no choice but to handle the traffic. And can't get DOT to refurbish the road. They come in there and throw tar down and throw rocks on top of it. Because they don't think there's enough traffic on the road. Most venues has got 4 lanes in, 4 lanes out. This venue's got 1 lane in. When you get to that ditch, 2 cars can't pass. Somebody's in the ditch. I was talking to one of my neighbors, which stays in the White House right there. I want to say Friday night. And the car had to stop at the creek for the other car to come across it. He had to pull off side the road for the other car to come on, and he had to back up, get back in the road to come back up here. It's not big enough for this situation. It's not the proper area for that situation. If he wants to have something like that, I say go to 70 Highway where they can handle the traffic. And that's all I got to say about it. I don't think it's right.
Any questions of the gentleman? Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Don Andrews and Lynn Andrews, 7259 Hickory Crossroads. I sent y'all emails, or my wife sent emails to most of y'all the other day with some pictures. I'm the kind of guy, we both are educators here in the county for 40 years, so we know all sorts of people, and I've got all sorts of friends. It's not that we don't want people to have fun, but this is not the place to do that. Weekends, we have grandkids because of the condition of Hickory Crossroads, and it's very poor. I do driver's ed in the county. I don't let my kids drive more than 45 miles an hour on that road. It's not well painted, it's slick, it's narrow. The road going into the property cannot handle more than 1 vehicle. We've been there now 2 years, July, and the music, I don't mind the music so much. It's just loud. Grandkids don't go to bed at 11 o'clock. Traffic, I came in one day from Rains Mill. They were backed up from his driveway all the way out to Rains Mill. It took me 15 minutes to get to my driveway. And that was having to pass over in the left lane and go around him when nothing was coming. Another thing that I want to mention that concerns me is this is not a community thing. This is one group. I don't want to get into those sort of things, but it's not for the community. It's for their, as he mentioned, the people they know. And so we disagree with it. Horses are beautiful. I've seen them riding them in the front yard. They're steppers. They're beautiful.
I've also seen one time that the front lot, the front grass area out and right next to the road, they were parked in there so tightly, people could not get out. They were parked everywhere. Beer bottles, as he mentioned, I'll second all that. Beer bottles, beer cans, I pick up out of the road before I go to mow grass or whatever. It's just not the right spot for this. And I'm all for them celebrating and doing all that. This is not the right spot. The road is not adequate for it. Their entrance is not adequate for it. I was on Smithfield Fire Department 20 years, and as a rescue person, it's a nightmare. If they were having a large gas explosion or large catastrophe in there, it'd take forever. Not only get them out, but get people in. As you've heard the mention about those. But that's just our concerns. Most of these people sitting back here are going to say the same thing. It's just not the right place. Thank you.
Any questions of the gentleman? Thank you, sir. You're good. Thanks, sir. Anyone else like to be heard? Yes, ma'am. Take your time, no problem.
My name is Catherine Barnes. My husband, Benny, and I reside at 155 Overman Lane, Princeton, North Carolina. We also own 177 Overman Lane, Princeton. So I understand that the others have spoken as to traffic. I won't repeat those things about Hickory Crossroads Road. We have 30-foot easement from Hickory Crossroads Road all the way down to the end of our property. The property in question across our property that goes over Overman Lane only has a 15-foot easement. That's the way it was deeded to us. Me and Tom, we get along great, and I have no problem with them. We meet and talk, and I apologize, my thoughts are kind of over the place. No, so this isn't, we've never called the law. It was speckled here and there, and it wasn't often, and we considered it just being part of good neighbors. You know, you're going to host your family, and you're, you know, even the charity events, but there hasn't been a lot of them, and there hadn't been enough for us to ever have a conversation about how often they're going to be had. The cars block us from our property. 155 is where we reside. No one currently resides at 177. That's an old house. That's my grandparents' house, and nobody's lived there for a long time. But we reside at 155, and I believe you'll be able to note that both 155 and 177 have their separate blocks, spacing as far as on Overman Lane. And from preparing for the event until an hour and a half maybe after the end of the event, we do not have access to Hickory Crossroads Road. Overman Lane is up until the last 6 months, is a little dirt path. It's all it's ever been. Tony's been great putting gravel out there, but still, it's you to pass 2 cars on it, even, and please understand that the pavement that was done is not 30 foot wide. It's within their easement allowance. I have health problems, and I do have concern that if something happened, or if something happened to somebody visiting with us, being able to get our own medical care, much less if something happened on the property that is being requested rezoned. Because it's agricultural, residential, and it didn't happen often, we just didn't complain. We're just not that kind of people. I mean, not that, no, I don't mean it that way.
We understand. They probably understand what you mean, too.
But I would like to say, in reference to the concerts, we're not talking about just little speakers. This is full-on concert. There are speakers that are attached to the buildings. There are speakers that are distributed out throughout the property, and the sound is very loud the entire time. I would also ask for you to consider that I understand that the only official request in front of you is that property. On that property, as far as I'm aware, that residents and the people who live there is a part of the I didn't get all the information y'all received, obviously. I got the notice just highlighting that area. But when events happen, the family owns the property in question, property beside, if you're looking directly at their property from Overman Lane, property that's beside them but behind our property. And they own an adjoining field that they have access to. And the parking is on the other property. So it's not that it's limited to what they can fit on this little area. People at the last event, they trailered in golf carts so that they could get around the event. That's how large the events are. If it goes to general business, I feel the responsibility of not just my generation, but 10, 20 years from now, my family's generation. And, you know, today it's, you know, an event a quarter maybe, but things change. And Tony spoke, and I appreciate Tony as a businessman, as a person, but it's not his name, it's his son's property. And he doesn't say he's looking to retire. So he doesn't want to build it into an event, but on regular basis. But if its zone changes to general business, what control is there over it? We're nothing but residential in and around that area. I apologize for taking up so much of your time. I'm sure I've left things out, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all may have.
Do you know the width of the access easement, at least as it relates to the portion on your property?
As it relates to the portion of our property, our two properties, it is 15 foot is the legal easement that is given to the property in question.
Okay. And the width of the path within that easement, is it approximately the same width as that 15 feet, or what's your assessment of that?
My husband's better with distances and measurements than I am. I apologize.
Would you say it's less than 15 feet? It's not, it doesn't take up the full width of it?
It does not.
Okay.
And it cuts off. So if you're moving to the side to let somebody else by, you're off of it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions?
Have you, in some of these events, have you seen, in your estimation, in his proposal, he has 300 spaces, approximately 300. Have you seen more than 300 vehicles up there with that and the other field combined?
I would definitely say yes. It always spills over into the other properties. In fact, we've even allowed Tony before. We just sold him recently, his son, 4.5 acres that he owns now, so that there wouldn't have to be people coming on our little driveway off of Overland Lane. So that they, for them to have access to the field, it was our understanding at the time, but things changed, that they were going to grow hay for the horses. And we were just trying to, I guess, make it easy. And
Be a good neighbor.
yes, sir.
I had that same question about where, I just don't understand where on the drawing the excess parking is.
Yes, sir. Well, and I apologize. I've never seen the drawing that you held up, so I'm not familiar with that.
Feel free to take a look at it.
Thank you so much.
That's what, that's the proposed.
The applicant does own several other parcels in the vicinity of
Yeah.
this.
Right,
Surrounding
right.
our property.
Contiguous to this property?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, there,
But quick question,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
not being asked to be rezoned, right?
Correct. Yes.
Those adjoining pieces.
Let's see.
there,
The map in the packet that I'm looking at shows only the one parcel.
That's
On page 42. It's rounded in blue. Or 41's rounded in red.
Any other questions of the lady?
and I apologize. I wanted to properly answer the question. I'm getting my bearings on this.
Well, what you're saying is more than what this area that's proposed, currently being used.
It's definitely more than the area that's mapped on GIS that we received notice of. And it just spills over into those areas. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank y'all for what you do. It's a burden of what y'all take on, and it's for generations, and I appreciate. Thank you for letting me be heard.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I'm not a public speaker, but I'm Norton Mark Holland, 2373 Rains Mill Road. Everybody these days, I guess, is about them, and of course, I'm speaking on my behalf as well as my neighbors. We all have skin in the game, and I probably have more than most. This parcel to the right of the pond, the 60-acre piece right here, highest and best use, we're 2.25 miles from 70, it's going to be a subdivision. It's coming. We're not going to be able to stop it. West Johnston's maxed out, and 42 corridors coming our way. There's places for the events that Tony wants to have this, but 2 miles away from a interstate now is probably not the best place. You travel 6 miles on land over in Wayne County, the edge of Wayne County. You travel out there on a Joe Marsh Road, you're standing there for an hour. It intersects Hickory, runs all the way to 581. You're lucky 2 cars might come by in an hour, any given time. And if it get after dark, it'll be 0 unless teenagers to come by and legally spotlight in Wayne County. But anyway, I like concerts. You know, everyone has their entertainment that they have through life. And if you notice in Wake County years ago, Hardee's come up with a big amphitheater. But if you notice, where did they put it? They put it in the ground to muffle sound. There's no sound being muffled there. If you can reduce that map a little bit, and go back to where we can get over to Rains Mill, I actually own the parcel, come right down here, yeah, right there, that's me. So, at any given time, I can walk out, not every morning, but when there's no events, and I just start smiling, the speakers are on. And I'm probably, what, a good half mile away? And we're not having a concert. 6, 7 in the morning. And it don't bother me. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it is when there's events there. We happened to be having dinner over at my cousin sitting behind me one evening. Tony was having an event there. I think it was the night of the accident where the rescue couldn't get in there. Deputy sheriffs couldn't get in there. So we finally left the back of the house to come around to the front because it was just chaos. You know, it was bumper to bumper. Cars, one car I think had driven off into the ditch intersecting Hickory and Rains. So it was probably a good 3 hours. Everybody doesn't pile out at the same time. And after 11 o'clock, it does linger, probably, sounds like to me, with a smaller group, with it toning down a little bit, but you're still hearing music, you know, after 11 o'clock on these certain events. And there again, you know, you move it 6 miles away, there's nobody even out there who cares. But, you know, and I like Tony. He's being cordial to me, and I'm going to continue to be cordial to him. He doesn't even live out there. You know, it's like he really is not part of the community except for his business of these horse shows, rodeos, and so forth. There's a time and a place for everything, but the time for an event center there, I don't think it's the time. You know, you got Martin Livestock Center. I farm. You know, there's X amount of my Gold Leaf funds went to build a livestock arena down in Martin County that can get rented out anytime. I don't know if you've ever visited that arena, but it's empty most of the time. I mean, there's millions of dollars just sitting there with horse stalls that you just rent from the state. That's your suitable site to have concerts. It's, you know, accommodates all North Carolina citizens. But the aspect of having an outdoor concert on flat ground 2 miles from a major interstate that's coming is kind of not the place. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Any questions, gentlemen? Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Jackie Weathers. I'm Mark's cousin. That he was at our house when we had that. And I just had a couple of things.
Give me your address, please, just for the record.
7446 Hickory Crossroads.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I just had one thing. I want to second everything they've said because we've experienced it. We moved over here from Mooresville, North Carolina, a couple of years, 3 years ago, because we wanted to be near family. We had family, and my husband's family's in Clayton, my family's in Princeton, and we wanted to live out in the country. And we moved in a week after the pandemic hit, and what a blessing that was, that we were able to be out where it's nice and peaceful and quiet, and then this happened. So I'm just saying my two cents. But just to note, there is another one this Saturday, so if you...
There's another what?
Thank you.
Another one Saturday, another event.
Okay. Anyone else like to be heard? I think we covered everybody. We'll get back to the applicant in just a second. I think we do have a couple questions for the applicant. I've at least got one, if you don't mind.
come up and
That's fine. Yes, sir. The one thing that I wrote down, the question I had was, is there any alcohol sold or consumed on the premises?
No, sir.
So there's none sold. Is there any consumed? Any alcohol consumed
Drink.
on the
Do they
premises
drink it?
During the events?
Bring their own.
They bring their own, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so none sold. What is the width of the access easement used to access the property? We heard some testimony that it was 15 feet.
I thought it was 30 foot, and even if it's 15 foot, and I heard that one of them says, I only have like 10 or 7 foot or whatever, yes. But that's why we're here. If we are give the permit, then I'm gonna make everything to access in and out. I don't want to spend money if I'm not give the permit. Cause I don't need 15 foot or whatever, so that's no problem. I can give people in and out now.
Well, let me stop you there just to make sure I
Yeah.
can clarify my question. The width of the access easement does matter because
Okay, yeah.
it's how wide can you actually make a road, right? So I think it is important that we know, and maybe the engineer needs to look into it, but we need to
I
know
think it's 30 foot.
the width of the
Well,
access
that's what
easement.
we've been told. Oh, that's what it is.
I have a question.
Okay.
If you pull a tape measure from one side of the asphalt to the other,
Right now,
what is the width of your asphalt?
right now it's only 12 foot, sir.
Okay.
Right now it is, but we can make, we can go for everyone. And I know that traffic. Somebody said traffic, right? Okay. You go to the farm, that's a traffic. So everywhere you go, Sunday, we go to the monster truck and rock. It take us about at least an hour and a half to come out. At least 2 hours to go in. It take us more to go in and go out. I mean, everywhere you go to an event, it's traffic. Now, if I get a permit, I'm going to delete all that. I'm going to find a way to get traffic in there, in and out, as fast as I can. This is, man.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah, if you don't mind answering that question, I think that is an extremely important question.
Yeah, to the best of my understanding, it's a 30-foot wide easement, and you just heard the width of the road itself in that easement. Based on the survey information I was provided, showed a 30-foot easement.
Okay, all the way out to Hickory Crossroads Road?
What I was provided was just on his property, so I can't speak to that, what's
we
out
don't-
to Hickory Crossroads.
So we don't truly know the width of the easement and the ability to upgrade the existing road all the way out to
That's
Hickory
right,
Crossroads
within the
Road.
existing easement, that's right, yeah.
Within, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
any other questions?
No, sir. Okay. All right, we're gonna close the public hearing and bring it back to staff.
Staff recommendations, approval based on the conditions and the following consistency statement that's in your staff report.
I have some reservations about the safety of the residents and the ingress and egress of the property in general during an emergency situation.
Can I ask a question? That's my question. Does he have a way of putting, once it gets to his property, to put in, lack of a better word, split in, out? Do you see what I'm saying? I know that,
How you gonna get through that?
no, he'd have to tear that down.
So a typical,
I'm saying legally, like,
so the typical roadway, right-of-way width on a county road is 50 feet wide.
correct.
A typical subdivision right-of-way width, same thing, 50 feet wide with 20 feet of roadway. To get a 20-foot wide roadway in a 30-foot wide easement with ditches and drainage is extremely
Would he have to do that? That's my question.
Well, I think.
On an easement going back to, and I'll be honest, there's a couple of things that have been mentioned. I've been to a ton of rodeos, not the fancy dancing horses, but a ton of rodeos. I don't know of anywhere that's got paved stuff, even Mike Martin Livestock Arena, because I've been, go to Williamston twice a year. They don't have paved. That don't bother me. It's the safety issue. And my whole thing is getting from point A to point B. And if he had the width going from, God, down Overman from the public road, I wouldn't have a problem with any of it except for the concerts. I'm just not a big person on concerts. But then, you know, when you move out in the country,
I did not hear clear testimony of the actual
size of these.
width of the easement all the way to Hickory Crossroads Road. We believe it is, but not clear evidence that it is.
Well, I see, I got the survey up, well, it looks like a survey to me where the outline of the, the parking spaces are, and it looks like 15 feet showed on there. Online, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's showing.
5366. I mean, I can see
Isn't
it
it
on
showing
there.
15?
15 foot wide easement.
Yeah. That's my only reservation on this thing. And he's adhered to the noise, that he will do the Johnston County noise ordinance, which I'm not in the law enforcement or safety division, so I don't know. My understanding they go out with some kind of decimal thing and check it upon complaints. So he would have to adhere to that. But the other, I'm just a little reserved about as far as getting in there and out up there.
We did hear testimony about an ambulance having to wait almost 2 hours to get into the area when someone got hurt. That's concerning.
And
blocking the property.
yeah, and there's a lot of people that have these rodeos out in the country, and they, quite honestly, they only have to like single going in and out, but I think they have road frontage where there's not people actually blocking going in and out.
Yeah, that's my concern, is just even the lack of the ability to provide a two-way driveway to access the facility. I mean, we do have, I mean, in the conditions, and again, we will have to get agreement from the applicant on the conditions. Hours of operation Friday through Sunday from 8 to 11 p.m. and complying with the noise ordinance. I do understand the concerns, though, just because the event ends at 11 does not mean everyone's cleared out.
I will add to what everybody else has said, that the access is a concern. Not only from a fire and EMS and police perspective, but also just for Ms. Barnes and her family trying to get out, or if they have some, emergency at their home, that is concerning. And I will say, I commend you for trying to have an event to bring people together. It's just, as some of them said, I don't know if it's conducive to the rural nature of the area. But, my biggest issue is with the access coming in and out.
I agree.
Well, if they're parking 300 cars there and they have excess parking somewhere else going through that same choke point.
Yeah, I think, I mean, as currently proposed, well, I guess we'd have to ask staff, is if, as currently proposed, they're just showing the one parcel. If there's are parking for these events on other parcels not included in the rezoning, is that a violation?
Yeah, they don't adhere to the site plan, and, I mean, it would be a violation.
Okay. All right, so we do need to get concurrence from the applicant on the conditions before we vote, whether regardless of whether we vote to recommend approval or denial. I would propose an additional condition that, as I originally wrote it, really just related to the Overman Drive at the intersection with Hickory Crossroads Road being upgraded to commercial driveway standards, although I now understand that really it maybe should apply to the entirety of Overman Road, but y'all could maybe help me with that. Tim, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I would say, and that's gonna bring into the conversation about the width of the easement.
Right.
But I think to satisfy myself, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, but it seems like the consensus is it would have to be throughout at least to.
The entirety.
To entirety, but at least to where his property starts.
But I'm not sure that condition is even
Can be done.
feasible.
Right.
Technically feasible
Because he
at this point.
probably wouldn't get a problem.
Okay. So we'll, NCDOT will require that the driveway at Hickory Crossroads Road be constructed appropriately, so we can leave that to them. I guess I'll just ask the applicant, do you concur with the conditions 1 through 11 as listed in the staff report?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this time I'll entertain a motion.
Based on the discussion and the reservations that we've had concerning the safety and access, not only for the patrons of this particular venue, but for the other residents on that highway, Overman Lane Road, I move to deny.
Second. All right, I've got a motion for denial for Mr. Hudson, a second by Mr. Sasser. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that will go forward to the Board of County Commissioners as a recommendation for denial. Mr. Moore, other items for us this evening?
In front of you, you have the two written decisions on subdivisions that were handled at last month's meeting that needs approval.
All right, so those of you that are new to the board, these are written decisions, so we just want to make sure that these findings of fact adequately encompass the, we'll give it just a second.
Yeah.
All right. We just want to confirm that these findings of fact adequately represent the discussion that happened as it relates to this case, and we need a motion and a vote to authorize me to execute this written decision. So first we'll consider the Searles Road tract.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion approved by Ms. Howard, second by Mr. Little. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This next we'll handle the Moore Meadows tract.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Mr. Little, second by Mr. Hudson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Other items for us this evening, sir? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. Second.
I heard several. Thank you.
You want it? Where'd I get all this stuff?
Thank you, darling.
Yeah, I'm charged now.